dog. I'm drinking lean and she drinking Hennessy. Bougie bitch with porn star tendencies.
My favorite kind.
I put her on a plane to come and visit me.
Yeah.
Got time for her to go back, she didn't want to leave.
You gotta go, man.
Hey everybody, this is Eric DeVilla with Happy Politics. It's October 16th. We got a full palette for you today, and there's some stories that I want to cover with you. One of them is about a joke that was made by Donald Trump towards Mike Pence. Another one is about a story concerning gun control. And another one is about a person who's running for Congress who happens to believe in some pretty crazy things. All right, but let's get started. All right, on the very first story, and this is actually from Reason.com. Now, before I go any further on this story, I want to make it very clear about this story is that there are two different sources. There's the Reason.com, which I just mentioned, and then there's the other article that the Reason.com articles actually sources. It's actually it was actually an article crafted by Robbie Suave, and it's concerning why a hospital won't let a dad donate his kidney to his sick 2-year-old son because of a gun arrest. So, as it reads, AJ Burgess, a 2-year-old boy without functioning kidneys, is in desperate need of a transplant. His father, Anthony Dickinson, is a perfect match, was prepared to undergo transplant surgery until he was arrested for violating his parole. Dickinson was in possession of a firearm or a knife during the commission of the attempt to commit certain felonies, according to the WGCL-TV. He's been released from prison, but the hospital won't perform the surgery until the parole officer gives the okay. That could take 3 to 4 months. The hospital wants to revisit the issue in January. Of course, there's no guarantee that Burgess will live that long. He has to undergo dialysis every single day. His body is failing, and he has a bladder surgery, and he needs a kidney now, and a highly motivated donor, his father, is willing to give him one. Now, further in this article, it goes on to make some commentary saying that maybe that's gun control in theory. In practice, stricter gun control means giving the government more reasons to interfere in the lives of black and brown people who are already wary of the police. It means rap sheets of low-level offenders become lengthier. They did something bad, and they happen to have a weapon while they did it, even though one had nothing to do with the other. It means more people in color getting caught up in the technicalities that ruin their lives and endanger the lives of their children. So this article specifically frames the discussion or the point of the sourcing of where he got this information from. That's the WGCL-TV. He got this from a different source that actually completely removes the situation from what is actually happening. And what I mean is that he's trying to spin it as though this is actually what will be the result of gun control, and that's not necessarily the case, because when you actually go to the source, there is no specific gun legislation that actually prevented this person from being able to give his son his kidney. The father actually was already out of the hospital, and the hospital actually made the decision on their own to actually not proceed along with the surgery because they didn't like what they saw on the father's background. It has nothing to do with gun legislation, but they're using this as an opportunity in order to spin it and say, well, look, this is the example of gun control. This is what will happen. You'll actually get adversely affected by this small little anecdote. And then when you actually go to the source and actually look at it, you're like, well, wait a minute. Like, this guy was actually already out, and he went to the hospital, and they said no. So even under that scenario that he's trying to paint and say, this is what the result of gun control would be, that scenario doesn't even apply to this one, because with or without gun control, the hospital would have probably still made the same decision regardless, because you can just take out gun control and just insert or the fact that he had possession of a gun and just put in any particular crime. If he did any particular crime and then the hospital said, you know what, we're not going to proceed along with the operation, then what are you going to do? And they even made a statement about that. But the Emory Healthcare said that Emory Healthcare is committed to the highest quality for the care of its patients. Guidelines for organ transplantation are designed to maximize the chance of success for organ recipients and minimize the risk for living donors. Because of privacy regulations and respect for the patient confidentiality, we cannot share specific information about the patient. Now, there was another source, CBS 46, was able to find a statement on their website for the United Network of Organ Sharing, which explains the procedures for organ donations. And it states that you will need to answer all the questions when asked. These include questions about your history of high-risk behaviors. The transplant staff will ask about your financial situation and talk about who can give you the physical and emotional support through the donation process. You will be asked to fully describe the reasons for wanting to donate and how it will affect your lifestyle, such as employment and family relationships. Involving your loved ones in the educational part of the evaluation process can be helpful. They can learn about the donation, surgery, and recovery process and support you in your decision. Now, Camellia believes in 2018 it may be too late. Now, it's very unfortunate that, without a single-player healthcare system in place for something like this, he had to actually set up a GoFundMe page in order to help pay for the operation. And it's very disappointing that this hospital decided to make a discretionary call to not proceed on with the operation because they don't like the fact that he got caught with a gun he wasn't supposed to have. But I hope this kind of awareness that has been brought up about this issue helps them or forces them to turn around on this issue, because it's not a very good situation. But I do encourage everybody that we need to get to the point of where we push for a single payer for all, because at the very end of it, he had to pay thousands of dollars in medical fees, and as of yesterday, I still haven't seen him achieve that goal as of yet. But I'm very hopeful for it. All right, the next story is actually concerning Donald Trump and some internal comments that were made at the White House. There was some little back and forth between Trump and Mike Pence. Now, this article is actually from the Huffington Post, and it includes some comments about my community in particular. So, as it reads, in a blistering new profile of the Vice President Pence's rise to prominence along the Christian right, and the New Yorker Jane Myers recounts of several anecdotes from the campaign and administration staffers about how President Trump rips his vice president for his apathy towards the LGBT community. The profile demonstrates that Trump's callous indifference towards Pence's extreme social agenda. One particular anecdote stands out that undermines Trump's longstanding claim to support the LGBTQ community or people, and underlines Pence's opposition to the LGBTQ equality. Two sources also recall that Trump needling Pence about his views on abortion and homosexuality. During a meeting with a legal scholar, Trump belittled Pence's determination to overturn Roe v. Wade. The legal scholars has said that if the Supreme Court did so, many states would legalize abortion on their own. Trump shot back and said, "You see," Trump asked Pence, "you've wasted all this time and energy on it. It's not going to end abortion anyway." When the conversation turned to gay rights, Trump motioned towards Pence and joked, "Don't ask that guy. He wants to hang them all." Pence's history of opposing the LGBTQ equality is well documented, from his support of the ex-gay conversion therapy to haplessly defending the discriminatory religious freedom legislation he signed into law in 2015. During the campaign, Pence helped secure the support of religious conservatives, promising, for example, that the administration would rescind the Obama administration guidance protecting transgender students in the schools, which it did shortly after Trump took office. So I don't see how people would constantly argue, and I've even seen figures who have risen up recently. There's one in particular, a sassy gay Republican, who still argue that under the Trump administration, you have the most pro-LGBTQ administration ever to date. I see no evidence of that, because that's like me saying that I'm running a campaign in 2020. I'm pro-choice, and my VP is literally the opposite of my view. He's pro-life. It doesn't work, because what if something happens to me? What if I'm running a campaign with a person as pretty much my VP, in an event that something happens to me, and his or her views are in stark contrast to my own, why would I put that person as my second hand when that person can just undo everything that I've worked up to in my place as the president of the United States? I don't understand why people can't really see through that, and I don't know why people would even support Trump in this case and even try to argue this. It's like some weird compartmentalization that's going on. There are even some people who say, well, Prince wouldn't necessarily want to go about hanging the gays or whatever. You know what? Like, I don't know. Like Pence on the record has done some pretty horrible things to the community. I don't trust him. I'll say that much. I don't trust Pence. I don't want to have nothing to do with Pence. I don't want Pence to become president. But I also don't want Trump to be president. So it's a weird situation of, if you impeach Trump, then you get Pence, who's potentially worse. And while this is probably good information to know, at least when it comes to Trump, that he's a little apolitical when it comes to some of these issues, it's most unfortunate that, in part because he's apolitical on these issues, that he tends to swing wherever the wind kind of goes and just does the bidding of whoever gives him the most money or whoever lobbies the hardest, what have you. It doesn't matter. So him not having a position on the issue, I think, can to some extent be good, but also can be bad because he's not principled in anything. Like I would say this: like, if he didn't have a position on the issue, but at least he had some core principles that he felt that he stood by, then okay, fine. Like maybe if for example, like, he wants rights for everybody. Now, he doesn't necessarily care for a gay marriage or whatever, but he said, you know what, I want everybody to be treated the same. Okay, fine. I can get down with that. But I really don't know where Trump is. Like, if gay marriage wasn't a thing under the Obama administration, and it somehow happened under the Trump administration that this became a very big issue, I think you would probably see his true colors if he ran as a Republican. If this happened a little while later and he ran as a Republican, he would likely swing more towards not supporting gay marriage. And I get the impression that he says whatever is politically expedient, at least in the moment. All right, so moving on to the final story of the day. And this is concerning a lady named Bettina Rodriguez Aguilera. And she is actually running in Miami for Congress. And the headline of the article is very interesting, and it should be alarming for anybody to figure out about this person. And it gives you an idea of, do you really want a person who holds such views and such a low standard of evidence to be running, and not only to run, but to win this particular seat? Now, the headline goes, she claims tall blonde aliens kidnapped her as a child. She's running for Congress. Okay. So, Bettina Rodriguez Aguilera said the encounters began when she was young and happened several times throughout her life. She saw 3 beings, 2 women and a man. They were tall, full-figured, and blonde. They wore robes, spoke telepathically, and were in a round spaceship. Rodriguez Aguilera described her experiences with extraterrestrials in old interviews unearthed by the Miami Herald, and I actually saw those. It was crazy. I'll even link those in the description below. As the one-time council member of the Doral, I don't know what the hell that is, for the seat of Congress. I guess that's Florida? Hell, I don't fucking know. Several years before the 59-year-old announced her candidacy to replace Republican Ross Lieutenant, she appeared on the Spanish-speaking television programs and talked in great details about her experiences with aliens. In one video that was uploaded to YouTube a long time ago, before it was highlighted by Herald, Rodriguez Aguilera, the Republican, said that she saw a round spaceship for the first time when she was 7, and her parents asked her to go outside their home. She boarded the spaceship, she said, and saw raw seats. After the vessel took off, aliens explained to her what they planned to do. Okay, so people, if I have any people in Miami who are listening to this show, I really want you guys to take the time to think about whether or not you want this person sitting on Congress with such minuscule and such a low standard of evidence, be deciding the livelihoods of thousands upon millions of people in the United States right now. Just that alone could disqualify you. And there are some things that I'm willing to like let go. Like maybe if you have like your belief in God or whatever. I'm an atheist, but I don't care. I'm cool. If you believe in God, whatever, that's all on you. And I don't trample on them, and I'm not going to challenge you on it. If you want to run on them, that's fine. If you want to be a believer and you want to run and you win office, I don't care so much about that as long as you can do your job pretty effectively. But a person who believes that, not only believes in aliens, but also believes that she was abducted by aliens, and her position hasn't changed even to this day. Do you really want somebody to be running and be in the seat that believes that? Because think about how crazy of a find that would be if you were to find something like that out. We have no evidence to suggest that there was any abductions that happened. We have a lot of anecdotes that people bring up various stories or whatever, but nothing tangible that you can bring forth. But she believes that not only in the concept of the aliens, which, in my opinion, I think that there is other life out there, but as far as abductions, and you literally got abducted, I think that there is a broader issue of something going on that you would need to evaluate about this person, and as to whether or not she literally thinks somebody kidnapped her. That's an alien that you would need to consider, because this is not somebody you want in office with such atrocious views.